Hello my friends! It has been more than 2 months since I have made the original review of Canon EOS M50, and today I would like to make an update of that video to share my long-term experiences with M50, to show you how it works with better adapted lenses, and also to explain some of the reasons why I haven't used this camera so much. I will also compare it to some of the alternatives that you should also consider if you are looking for a camera in this price range. M50 is not a bad camera overall. For some users it is a good alternative, but it has some weaknesses. Let's start with the build quality. EOS M50 is made entirely of plastics. It doesn't feel like it should fall apart or anything like that, but the feel of it is not particularly nice. The buttons feel rather cheap, especially the buttons on 4-way pad. It is not a big deal, but it should be said. Regarding the controls, these are good enough for users who will mostly use automatic settings or semi-automatic settings like aperture priority. There is just one dial, and if you want to switch the functionality of that dial, for example from aperture control to shutter speed control, you need to use a separate button. Again, if you don't need to do that, it is not a problem, but both main competitors, Panasonic G85 and Sony a6000, offer 2 dials. M50 is optimized for use of touchscreen, which is still rare, and it has one of the best quick menus on the market. But controlling most important settings with buttons and dials is usually more convenient. In my opinion, the camera with best handling in this price category is Panasonic G85. It has 2 dials, many custom buttons, much deeper grip, drive mode dial, also great quick menu and so on. So if handling is your priority, the M50 probably isn't the best choice. Sony a6000 series also has 2 dials, but only the a6500 has touchscreen with limited functionality. It is very small though, which is why it can be a valid alternative if you are looking for 1-inch camera like Canon GX7 Mark II, but you don't necessarily need to carry the camera in your pocket. Regarding the output or sensor performance, M50 uses same 24 megapixel sensor that is being used in 80D. This is a good sensor overall. It uses low pass filter, but the sharpness is more than sufficient, and so is the resolution. Regarding the dynamic range, that is actually pretty good. It is definitely not as bad as it used to be on older APS-C Canon sensors, but it still can't match Sony's APS-C sensor. New 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensors used in cameras like Panasonic GX9 actually beat it as well by some margin. Having said that, it is still good enough for cameras such as this. Regarding the ISO performance, it is definitely usable up to ISO 3200. At ISO 6400, the picture already starts to show some magenta cast, although it is still usable in less demanding scenes. Again, smaller 20 megapixel APS-C sensor has pretty similar ISO performance. Regarding the colors, Canon is known for having very good color science, and I can definitely see why people like it. The colors are very punchy and saturated with high vibrance, which is generally appealing to the people. Personally, I actually found those colors to be a bit too much on some occasions. Sometimes I even decrease the vibrance and saturation, which is not a problem. I just usually do the opposite with other cameras. Dual pixel autofocus is in my opinion the best thing about this camera. It is really good, especially the accuracy is great. It uses new Digic 8 processor, so it should be the best video autofocus among Canon cameras except for the EOS R. The subject tracking also works well. In stills, it is fast and accurate enough for intended use. It also works very well in face detection plus tracking mode, which is also wide area setting, and it is really good at choosing what to focus on. I like Sony's hybrid autofocus a bit more because it can be much faster than dual pixel AF in M50 if you set it that way, and it can also be as smooth and as accurate with right settings, so it gives you more options. The screen is also one of the best things about the M50. It is 3-inch touchscreen with sufficient resolution and brightness, and it is fully rotatable, which is especially important for YouTubers and social media content creators who want to film themselves. The touchscreen responsiveness is great as well, so no complaints about the screen. The viewfinder is not that great though. It is relatively small with only 0.62 times magnification, which is the smallest viewfinder that I have ever used. The resolution is 2.36 million dots, which is sufficient. I am glad that it is here at all, and it might help you with composition in strong sunlight, but I really wish it was at least 0.70 times magnification. One of the features that I really miss in this camera is the in-body image stabilization. This is now the only camera without in-body image stabilization that I own, and the in-body image stabilization is becoming a must-have for me, especially for video. A lot of owners will probably shoot handheld video with M50, and in-body image stabilization help a lot, especially if it can work with stabilized lenses like on Panasonic G85 or G80, and to some extent on Sony A6500 as well. Regarding the video, M50 can shoot 4K video, but as I have said in my original review, for all-round use, consider it 1080p camera. There are three big problems while shooting 4K. The first one is additional crop, which translates to 2.56 times overall crop factor, which is a lot, so we would need ultra-wide lens to shoot most stuff in 4K. The second problem is that dual pixel autofocus is disabled in 4K, so you are stuck with rather poor contrast autofocus. The third problem is that despite that there is no downsampling, there is still a huge amount of rolling shutter in 4K video. It seems like Canon just can't get this right, since the EOS R has similar problems. 4K is now becoming standard at least for some types of productions, so I hope that Canon will fix their 4K in mirrorless cameras soon. Regarding the 1080p video, the image quality is not terrible, but the codec and sharpness is a bit weak. With standard settings, the footage is in my opinion a bit over-sharpened, so I definitely recommend turning the in-camera sharpening down. Video quality will probably be sufficient for things like vlogging or Facebook and Instagram videos. I don't have Panasonic G85 at my disposal at the moment for direct comparison, but Sony A6500 has better 1080p quality than EOS M50, and G85 has a bit better 1080p quality than Sony A6500. I have mostly been using the M50 with 15 to 45mm kit lens, which is a good match for the M50. It gives you 24 to 72mm full frame equivalent field of view, which is very good for all-round use. The sharpness of this lens is more than sufficient as well. It is very compact, especially in collapsed state, and also very light. Regarding the optical characteristics, it unfortunately has that flat, smartphone-like look, but it is okay for what it is, just don't expect it to be something special. I have also tested the M50 with Sigma 18-35 using Viltorx EF to EFM adapter. This combination works well in terms of functionality. The autofocus works basically like with native lens. Sigma 18-35 is of course excellent in terms of optical performance, so pictures taken with this lens basically look great no matter what you attach it to. 29mm on wide end is a bit too narrow, but it is relatively versatile and also affordable way to get beautiful images with EOS M50. I have also briefly used it with Canon EFS 55 to 210mm f4 to 5.6 with the same adapter, which is also very useful telephoto kit lens with decent optical qualities, but I will probably make a separate review of that one. So overall, the EOS M50 is still a good camera for intended purposes, but at that price point, it is close to some other very capable cameras. Panasonic G85 or G80 is probably the closest match. The weakest point of G85 is the autofocus in video, but that is mostly a problem in 4K video. In 1080p, it is actually usable, and M50 has even worse autofocus in 4K video because the dual pixel autofocus is disabled. G85 has smaller micro four thirds sensor with 16 megapixels, but that is still enough for what both M50 and G85 are intended. G85 also has very good dynamic range, although I appreciate the extra resolution of M50. On the other hand, G80 has much better handling, weather sealed body with magnesium frame, it shoots beautiful 4K video with minor crop, and it has great in-body image stabilization. Especially when paired with stabilized lens like 12 to 60mm Lumix kit lens, the stabilization is great even for walking. The user interface on G85 is also great, and you can use it with Sigma 18-35 as well with the speed booster, which gives you some great options. For these reasons, I would generally recommend at least considering the G85, and for me personally, it would probably be a better choice. I have made separate video comparison of M50 and Sony a6300 or a6500, which is linked in the description. M50 is probably better in terms of usability, mostly because of that great user interface and touchscreen optimization. On the other hand, the feature set of both Sony cameras, especially that great 4K video, superior sensor, better build quality, and physical controls make it more suitable for serious applications. Canon EOS M50 is still a very good camera for those who don't necessarily need more advanced options, and for those who just want to share their content and need a tool to do that. More advanced users might want to consider the alternatives as well. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.